So welcome, Bec. Welcome to the Staying Alive and Rich podcast. I'm super excited to talk to you about all things nutrition, gut health and well-being, and more importantly, women's health as well, because I feel like we as women sometimes struggle with a few bits and pieces. We're a little bit hormone-driven as well, depending on what part of our life stage we're in, and nutrition makes a big difference to the way we feel on a daily. So how are you going? And thank you for joining me today.
Oh, thank you for having me, Maria. I'm super good. Yeah, I'm really excited to chat to you today about it as well. I think it's definitely, like you said, a super important topic for all of us, especially, us entrepreneurs as well that need to have good brain focus. Health is just key for it all.
100%. Couldn't agree with you more. But you've had an interesting journey which has led you to do what you do, which I love, because you're actually talking from your own experience. So just so the audience, my audience knows, tell us a little bit about how you got into nutrition and all things involving gut health and what you do. Tell us a bit about
absolutely. So back in the day, God, I'm getting so old now. I'm 30. So
oh my God.
I know I shouldn't say that. But no, back when I was sort of late teens to my early 20s, I've always been a really, really health conscious woman and came from a very health conscious family as well. And I was also really interested in science and human biology. I was quite a really hard worker at school, and I just took such an interest in science. And then I finished school and I did a Bachelor of Science Nutrition degree, and mainly just because I loved health and nutrition and the human body. So I was just like, okay, let's just follow that kind of interest and passion. But simultaneously, sort of as I was starting uni and kind of ending school, so when I was, 18, all of a sudden I just started to get my own health issues. So through school, I would sort of bloat occasionally, and, it would just be once a week. It wouldn't be a big deal. But then it started to get worse and worse in my sort of late teens. And it got just so bad to the point that I would call it chronic gut issues, which was a very disturbing and unsettling thing for someone that was just so health conscious. I really felt like I was the healthiest out of all of my friends. And it wasn't just my gut. So for me, it was a lot of bloating and constipation. That was what I was suffering with. And it kind of went hand in hand with just really low energy. I was starting to just gain weight quite easily, despite really being conscious of what I was eating. And so then it sort of started me on this sort of personal research and diet journey in terms of what's going on with my gut, and also how do I control my weight, what's going on, and just really digging deep into the science as I was learning about how to read the science at the same time, because I was doing a science degree. Mm-hmm. So it took, I don't know, maybe a good 2 years to find my answers. I went to lots of specialists. They didn't get me any help, didn't give me any answers, sorry. And then it wasn't until sort of my last year of uni that all the answers kind of came together. I was diagnosed with an underactive thyroid.
Interesting. Because that's that is such a common thing for so many women. My mum had the and she was, you're talking and it reminds me so much of my mother. She spent years and years, similar to you, having all these not major issues, but just tiny issues, and they were just a cluster of little symptoms that just didn't make sense. Yeah. And forever on a diet, forever trying to work out, yet she was gaining weight. And like you, went to numerous doctors and everyone just said, oh, you've got IBS, or you need to cut back on this, or you're not exercising enough. And I knew she was doing everything right. And it wasn't until years later that she got diagnosed with an underactive thyroid, which then everything kind of went, the aha moment went off in everyone's brain going, oh, wow. That's actually an issue. So tell me more about that, because it's such a common thing among women.
Yeah, and that's why my passion never stops now, because I was like, well, if I was health conscious, I understood science, I was understanding all this stuff, and I was going to specialists and I still wasn't getting answers. And then I finally found my answers. I was just like, I can't hold this in. Now I need to share it with as many women as I can, because there'd be so many other women in this position. So at the same time that I got diagnosed with I found some answers for my gut health issues too. So first of all, when you've got a slow thyroid, it slows everything down. And one of the things is obviously digestion. So constipation can be a symptom. Same with low energy, same with easy weight gain. So that was like, tick, that makes sense. Yay, let's go on medication. And hopefully that can help some things. And then I also got diagnosed with, I had like a really imbalanced microbiome. So I had just an overgrowth of some bad gut bacteria and not enough of the good guys. And I also had just multiple food sensitivity that I found through the right tests as well. And when I say the right tests, I know probably later on we'll go into tips and advice, but just quickly, like I didn't really get many. I never like to discredit doctors or specialists because of course they're amazing for, they're just incredible. But if you want to find, things to do with your gut health and to investigate your thyroid in a very in-depth way, and, you really do need to see an integrative, or it's integrative and functional is the same word for the same thing, an integrative or functional medicine doctor. And then also there's some other really good naturopaths out there that can do the right testing, but I would go for an integrative doctor because they just look at things in depth and do the right tests, and just far more than a specialist or just a regular GP does. Because, Yeah. And that's how I found my answers, after going to the right person. So, so that's kind of how, like, what my health journey was. And then that just spurred this fire in my belly. So, back then I thought to myself, why the hell am I going through this? This is so unfair. I'm the healthiest out of anyone. Like, if anyone ate like me, they'd be anorexic. Like, that's dramatic. But I was just like, this is so unfair. Like, I'm just doing everything right. But now I look back and I'm like, that is just such a blessing, because it gave me my life's purpose and passion, which is, and my dream career now, to be honest, is just, it's helping women. So that's how it all sort of began. Yeah. And that was about 8 years ago.
So give me, like, you keep saying you were like healthy and kind of at the top of your game in terms of health-wise in what nutrition and sport. Obviously you're quite active. Give me a typical day back in the day of what you would eat, and then what would happen after you eat. So from just a typical what you would eat in a day situation, exercise, just so the audience can understand that you can be really healthy and eat within your limits, but still, if there is an underlying issue that they're not aware of, what that looks like.
So, there's a lot of things that when I look back, I'm like, that actually wasn't healthy. But I learned the hard way. So because I was, trying to be conscious with my weight, and I didn't have as much, about a tenth, 2% of the knowledge that I have now with gut health and your gut microbiome and how that's connected to everything else. I was quite in the calories only mindset. Like, whilst that's still important, I was getting addicted to like so many sugar-free foods and like Diet Coke and sugar-free gum, like sugar-free protein bars. So I would always have protein and veg for dinner. That was very common for me. In the morning, I would often always have berries, a protein powder, some Greek yogurt. I'm still doing that to this day, but just I've made tweaks to that. And I sort of mix it all together in a bowl with almonds and chia seeds and things. And for lunch, sometimes it was so bad. Sometimes I would skip lunch and not skip lunch, but I would replace it with like a protein bar or something. So even though it was a fairly healthy day and low calorie, I feel like those diet foods that I was using to replace
good
vegetables
food, whole
and
foods. It
was just making my gut worse and worse. And there's so much research now to show that, heaps of artificial sweeteners plus a lack of fiber is what can screw your gut up. So
I'm so glad you said that, because I have got a teenager that is addicted to those hideous protein bars. He's a male, and I think he's bulking at the moment. I can never get it right. They're bulking, they're shredding, they're cutting. I don't know. It's just it's a whole new world for me. And I say, and he's very much like, I can't have this because it's got this, or has that got sugar in it? There's all these rules and regulations about what he has, and he's constantly stocking up the pantry with protein bars and sugar-free bars and protein powders, which are all relatively healthy. But I often think to myself, having that much these sugar substitutes that they put. It's a chemical still, like it can't be good for you. So I'm so glad you actually said that, because I'm going to actually play this to him and say, listen to Bec, because it can, I feel like it can muck up. It's not natural. It's very different to having a piece of fruit. I grew up in the 80s, so there was no protein bars in the 80s. There was a massive diet culture, but no proteins and stuff like that. So in the 80s, it was more calorie restrictive, and it was, salads and fruits and all of that sort of stuff, but just in small amounts. But I still feel that's far more healthier for you, because you are getting the whole food rather than something that's going to give you the protein without the sugar, and make you feel like you're eating but doesn't really give you any other nutritional value.
Exactly. You're at the end of the day, you're just starving your gut microbiome if you're constantly replacing whole foods with those foods. So, anything a couple of times a week, once or twice a week is fine. But I think if you really try to focus, 80% of your diet on whole foods, it's just going to do wonders for your health, because, it all starts in the gut. So, so that was sort of one part of the story, but then also, there are definitely so many good protein powders out there if you want to have them occasionally, which I love incorporating into a lot of my recipes for women, to make, sweet puddings and things like that. So they feel like they're eating cake without eating cake. But back then, and I don't want to discredit any protein powders, but for me personally, with my own gut, this was a huge light bulb moment, because when I got my food sensitivity test back, one of my sensitivities was peas, and my protein powder was made out of peas, and I was having that nearly every day. So I said I had protein powder with yogurt and berries. I was like, why am I so bloated? Like, I'm eating the healthiest food. And so that was one of the answers. And then also it was high for me was gluten, dairy, and eggs as well. So eggs are such a healthy food. Once again, quite often I would be eating eggs on the weekend, or another breakfast I would have would be eggs with greens. And then I didn't eat much gluten at all back then, but I was still having small amounts because I just wasn't really aware that it was causing me issues. So once I got really diligent with, cutting out gluten, limiting my dairy, I've still been able to always eat small amounts of cheese and stuff. I've never gotten too crazy with it, but got rid of the yogurt, almond milk instead of, normal milk, and changed my protein powder from a pea protein powder to one that's made out of brown rice and a few things, which is the More Life one. Instantly, I just felt, obviously it took about a year to properly heal my gut, but instantly in terms of the bloating, it just went, and I was like, oh my God, the power of cutting out the foods that you're sensitive to is just so important, even when it's the healthy stuff. And I don't want to say that, gluten, dairy, eggs, and peas are bad at all for everyone, but we all have different things that we're sensitive to if we're going through gut issues personally.
Did you get your sensitivities tested by your functional practitioner, or did you have to outsource that somewhere else?
I got it done through her. Yeah. Okay. So I think it was called, the lab was Nutripath, I think it was called. But there is actually a good online one that you can do yourself now called ImmuPro, IMUPRO, that you can order online and do yourself, which uses the same kind of testing. But, this was going back like 8 years ago, so I don't know if anything sort of online existed back then. I don't know.
Yeah. It's interesting because I think that's important. That's a good starting point to kind of find out. I had a friend of mine that had some DNA testing. I can't remember who he did it through. I do remember having this conversation, and the conversation was about how he loves broccoli, and then did this DNA test and found out that broccoli is probably one of the worst things he could eat, and he would have it like at least 4 or 5 times a day, obviously like everyone, a bit of protein, veg at night for dinner, salad, and broccoli is such a cheap and easy thing to cook. And then he also had these gut issues, did not even think it was the broccoli, thought it was something completely unrelated, and then came back and found out that he was not allergic but sensitive to broccoli, zucchini, and there was one more, which I can't think off the top of my head, which I thought was fascinating. I'm like, oh my gosh, like that's incredible. Like
sometimes if you eat something too much, that can cause a sensitivity too. So if you're eating broccoli every day, it could be like a temporary sensitivity that your body builds up, and then you can start eating it again. It's amazing what our bodies do. Like I can now eat small amounts of egg if it's like in something, like baked in something. It's been a while since I've tested eating whole eggs, because last time I tested it, it just made me feel so nauseous and sick. And you get really used to finding alternatives and different ways of eating things that my life is still so full of so much tasty food. And that's why I'm so passionate about doing what I do as well, because I've created so many recipes and ways of eating for other women that have the same concerns as me. And so I don't ever miss, I get avocado smash when I go out for breakfast now. And there's just all different ways, like you end up getting sort of used to your new norm, because everyone gets sort of quite scared when they have to change their diet initially, but there's always ways to find, alternatives out there these days.
Tell us about microbiome, because you mentioned it a few times, and I've done a bit of reading, and it's astonishing to know how important our microbiome is, not just for our gut essentially and our digestion, but also for our brain function. So tell me a little bit, because I know I've done your program. We're just talking about this before we got on air. I've done your program and love it, and it's really comprehensive for anyone out there listening to Bec and wants to do her 3-week program. It is fantastic, and it's literally like someone taking you by the hand and walking you through every process. And it's not just about the food we eat, it's also how we live our life and the triggers and the stress factors and all that. But we'll talk about that a little bit later. But tell me a little bit more about microbiome from a clinical perspective, because I think there's been a lot of stuff on it in the media, but I feel like there's no real clarity around it still. I think still people think, I'll just take a Yakult or have a bit of yogurt and my microbiome will be okay. But it's so much more than that, isn't it?
Yeah. I like to explain that in a very sort of like non-scientific, just general level for everyone to understand, because I also think that there's sometimes people will explain it in a way too in-depth sort of way as well. So I just your microbiome really thrives on just lots of fiber, vegetables, whole foods. So you've got, you want to have like a lot of good gut bacteria, and a big variety of them as well. So, and each different sort of type of good gut bacteria thrives on different sorts of fibers. And, when I say prebiotics and probiotics come into play there, and the easiest way to keep that alive and happy and thriving like a, beautiful garden, is to make sure you're, it sounds cliche, but eating the rainbow with your vegetables and making sure you get 5 serves, which is what we're told all the time. But as long as you're, really bulking your plate up, at least for lunch and dinner, with vegetables, and looking at your week ahead when you plan your week, and make sure that you're also opting to eat, quite a variety of them, that's sort of the best thing that we can all do for our guts. And then equally, it's important to not feed the bad guys. So sugar, and, highly refined carbohydrates also act as sugar in our gut, and the sugar kind of feeds the bad guys in our gut and can cause sort of an overgrowth of the bad guys. So we want to pretty much just always try to cut back on sugar, and the easiest way to do that is to eat a whole foods diet that's, as least processed as possible. And that's sort of the best start for anyone listening to sort of optimize their gut health and think about every single day. And, now that's what I think about when I look at a meal and I eat a meal. It used to just be calories only. Like I would look at that protein bar and be like, cool, 20 grams of protein, no carbs, no sugar, 200 calories. And now I would look at that protein bar and go, oh my God, my gut is going to hate me. Like I'm not feeding the good guys. So when I eat, a big salad or heaps of vegetables with dinner, I just look at that and I'm like, wow, my gut bugs are going to love me so much for this. And, when you start researching further, your gut is pretty much just linked to every other part of your health, from your mental health to your sleep, to your mood, to your weight as well. Like everything, starts in the gut. So the healthier that can be, the better. Is that kind of what you wanted me to?
Yes. Yeah, you nailed it. I think that's, I mean, I've done my own kind of research on it because over the years I've had up and downs with my gut, indigestion and all the rest of it. I don't know anyone that hasn't at least once or twice in their life had issues with their gut at some stage during their life. And I feel with me, I've as you get older, I'm a lot older than you. You become more in sync with your body, and you know when you haven't had enough sleep, for example, or you haven't drunk enough water that day, or you've had too many coffees, or you've had that protein bar instead of having a proper lunch. It does affect your gut, which then does affect every other. It's like a domino effect on everything else. And these days, it's like, nah, I haven't had enough water. I'm going to have water. I'm not going to have coffee. So you do become more in tune with your body. And I know my brain fogginess, I leave my carbs till the end of the week on the weekend when I don't have to work, because if I have them during the week, and even in the office when I'm at working, I'll often just have a salad because it's the only thing that I know won't stop my brain from functioning. If I have a pasta lunch or a rice even, I need to have a sleep.
Yeah. See, and that's so interesting, and
it's all gut related. It's 100% gut related. I know when my gut's gurgling in a funny way, it's like, oh, okay, I'm too stressed, or I need to sleep, or I just need to take some time out. And it does all correlate. It really, really does. I find when everything's working well, when I'm rested enough, when I'm hydrated enough, when I'm eating at the optimum levels. When I was following your program, as we spoke about before, I was sleeping. I was super productive at work. I was working after everyone had left. I worked till the last day, till the 24th, and I smashed out so much work. I'm like, why am I like this all the time? And it just then, Jerry, I was like, okay, because I've cut everything out, and I'm actually following this program to the T. And it's amazing. It literally is amazing. I'm not just saying that because I'm talking to you. It actually does even put a pause on me going, gosh, you know what? I need to be more aware of this on a daily. And I think that's what talking to you, and hopefully our audience will get as well, is that awareness around nutrition and feeding ourselves and our guts, our microbiome, so that we get so we're functioning at an optimal level, whatever that is for everyone individually. You know?
Absolutely. Everyone finds a different benefit themselves. And then when you feel those benefits, it makes you just want to continue.
Oh, yeah. Absolutely. You've had so much success with your program. Let's talk about your program. So you've done, your recipes are amazing, by the way.
Thank you.
They're really, really, they're great. I didn't feel hungry. They're easy. They're not overcomplicated. Because one of these things, I guess, when you do these programs, you think, oh God, how much? I don't have time to cook. I don't have time to do this. It's going to take forever. But no, they're super easy. They're fun, and most importantly, like I felt full. I wasn't craving anything or anything like that. It was actually great. And you've created over 700 food plans, I believe. Yeah. So you're an experienced camper when it comes to this sort of stuff.
Yeah. So I spent the first 2 to 3 years of my business working with women one-on-one and making totally personalized meal plans. And it was always with the same, I always only took on like the same type of woman, in the way that it was always the woman that had tried everything in the past in terms of healthy eating and dieting, and quite often had gut issues too. And I would take those women on and help them make tweaks to their existing diet. And then they would follow the personalized meal plan that I would make them. And, I was just blown away by the success that so many women were receiving. And so after and it was also blowing me away in the fact that I was like, and it still blows me away to this day, because it's sort of how a lot of the recipes are how I eat myself. And I'm such a foodie. I hate being hungry. I need to try really hard to control my weight. So it's kind of like I'm teaching people how I eat myself, because I've found ways that you can eat big meals but not be huge in calories, and ways to, eat meals that influence your hunger hormones in a really positive way, so that you aren't starving and thinking about food all day. And, eat in a way that controls your bloating. And so basically through my own, research and journey, and then working with, it was nearly just over 400 women, but I made, some of them wanted 2 or 3 meal plans. So that's why I ended up being 700. But after working with that many women and seeing all the success, I could finally draw on so many common themes that I was seeing. And it was time to, build everything that I'd learnt into what you've done, which is the 3-week body reset. Actually, back then it was called the 21-day spring slim down plan. And then I sort of relaunched it again and called it the 3-week body reset, changed up the recipes, changed a few things. And now that's my signature program. And it's just doing wonders for so many women. And it's because I just cover every factor from, understanding we're all busy. Like, so, a lot of women that join my programs are mums and they work, or one or the other, or, everyone's busy in their own way. So that has to be covered. It has to be easy. It has to be simple. It has to be tasty. And I really just learned from working with those women what women's lifestyles look like, what they like, what they don't like, to design this program that, even though it sort of is a one size fits all in quotation marks, I really do offer women ways to increase the food or decrease the food, and swap certain meals out if they don't enjoy them. And that's kind of, how the program came about. And that's been selling for, I think, 3 years now. And then I got to a point where, after having that for about a year, women were saying, oh my God, this is amazing. How can I continue to turn this into a lifestyle? Like, can I get more help? And so, after hearing enough of those kind of requests, that's what made me build my membership, which is called the Health with Bec Tribe. And so that's step 2 for women to join after the 3-week body reset. So I continue to give people meal plans. There's a Facebook group. There's fortnightly Zoom calls with me. And so that's really helping women really just learn how to actually turn that, diet into a lifestyle for good, like forever.
It's great. And you know what? It also builds that community and that connection because, we all kind of suffer with these issues silently, and then when you kind of, reach out and you do the program, and it is a very comprehensive program from, I think you've considered every element from mental health to, just holistically how we approach our eating and our habits and our behaviours and all that, which is what I loved about it. And I'm super busy. I run 100 miles an hour, and if I could do it, anyone can do it. I'm just saying, people. But you can really make it your own. And I've been receiving your emails, and the emails are fantastic. There's little reminders and little, bite-sized information there that you go, oh, okay, I might try that next time. Oh, I didn't realise that. So it's great. And I think through that you built this community where women don't feel so alone or so like, oh, it's not working, what do I do now? Because I think there's a bit of a women helping women in that community as well, which is great. And the fact that you get on a Zoom and chat to them and have these open discussions is really, really cool as well. And I think that's important for consistency and long term as well. And also giving you the confidence that, this is doable. I can make these tweaks and enjoy life and enjoy food and enjoy going out and being social. Because a big part of, I don't want to use the word diet with your program because it's not a diet, it's actually a lifestyle change. But a big part of changing your lifestyle and your perception on how you go about things is what it's going to look like in a social setting as well. And especially when you kind of think, oh, God, I can't have this right now, I can't have that. The beauty about your program is you can still go out and you can still enjoy a nice piece of fish with a beautiful side salad in a restaurant. Like it's that simple, and it's easily integrated in your life if you're someone that likes to go out and enjoy life and food, dining. But
it's so important.
It's so important.
That's why I leave those two blank spaces, and I call them cheat/freedom meals. And I guide women on how to make the best kind of choices, but I also encourage women to just eat whatever they want in a way and not think about it and enjoy themselves, because when they know that they've got those 2 meals on the weekend where they can just eat whatever they want, it helps them stay, a bit more strict through the week. And that's been key in women wanting to do this, I keep saying diet, but like you said, it's a lifestyle. I think that's one of the biggest keys that I've also considered too. Like, I'm so glad that you said that. So thank you so much. I honestly have considered every single thing that there is in terms of weight loss. I've tried to consider. I can't do everything, but I've tried my best to do as much as I can.
I think you've pretty much nailed everything. I was actually surprised. I actually went into the journey not really anticipating going, oh, okay, it's going to be a little bit restrictive, obviously, cut out all of the fun stuff, the sugar, the alcohol, and, the usual culprits that are not good for us. And I kind of went in with that mindset. And like I said to you earlier, I would consider myself a pretty healthy individual. Yeah, I can tweak and be a bit more healthier. But I was actually surprised at how you thought about every aspect. You thought about, you know, the behaviors, what's triggering us. You've thought about, even to the point where writing down how you feel about certain things. So, and I thought, wow, this is really interesting. And this is where I kind of, that comment on lifestyle, because if you are going down a journey where you want to make changes, long-term changes, you do need to kind of shift your perception on how you see yourself and start to become a little more aware of your behavior. If you're someone that reaches out for the bar of chocolate at 3:00 in the afternoon, well, perhaps, you know what, think about why do you need that bar of chocolate. And your program does encourage you to think a little more about why you're doing the things you're doing, which I think is great. And once again, it makes things more sustainable long term. Even if you do, like I said to you earlier, it was Christmas, so I did it, and then I had Christmas and I enjoyed Christmas, and probably enjoyed Christmas a little bit too much, if I'm going to be honest.
It's Christmas though,
It's Christmas. It took me up until the end of January to go, okay, I've got to Maria, you've got to get your shit together. Enough of the fun stuff. But I do still allow myself to have some fun on the weekend. But in general, I think your program has had a great impact on me in kind of reprogramming and being able to jump back on the bandwagon a lot easier, because that's key, right? Like we can do this, we can achieve a healthy, sustainable lifestyle, and we've got to be human about it and go, you know what, you're going to fall off the bandwagon every now and then. That's okay. That's where your cheat meals are.
I encourage it. I actually encourage it in the Health with Bec tribe. So when women post and go, oh my God, I slipped up on the weekend or on holidays and I feel crap, I'm like, yay, that's amazing, because that's just a lesson on your journey, because now you can go, all right, if I'm feeling really crap, then that's just a lesson to go, okay, let's try not eat as crap next weekend. And, nothing's a quick fix, just like building a business or anything in life, it's a journey. And that's why, I think it's just so good I think, what you were saying earlier about you being really in tune with the days that you're dehydrated or the days that you haven't slept as well. And that takes time, right? You don't just learn that in 3 weeks. And so I try to always encourage people that, the 3 Body Reset is a start, but your health is such an ongoing journey that, you need to reflect week after week and go, okay, what did I change? Did I feel good? Did I not? What can I change next week? And it just week after week, the more conscious you are, that's what leads to the long-term success. And when I say long-term success, I mean kind of food freedom and finding your own balance with that. That could be your weight, it could be your gut health, it could be your energy. It just takes time to find your own balance. And that's just really important for people to know as well, because perfection isn't what the answer is. It's kind of trying your best day after day, slipping up, going 2 steps backwards, but then, going 7 steps forward the week after. And, eventually you do get that success. But, the downtimes and the mistakes and, getting bloated or feeling crap or gaining weight, they're all just part of the journey. As long as you sort of get straight back on track, after having your slip up or whatever it is, then you'll, then that's the most important thing to consider.
I think so too, and also builds resilience as well. It's I read something somewhere just recently. It's how you show up every time you fall down. It's how you get up. You can either stay down and go, or you, and that goes across everything. I think not just nutrition. It's just like the quicker you get up and the quicker you go, okay, right, I've learned. I'm going to keep moving now. The better. But some of the before and afters on your Instagram profile are absolutely incredible. Like it's just like you sit there and you go, wow, in 3 weeks. I didn't take any photos of myself because I don't have the confidence to post them, to post my gut on Instagram.
I'm chopping people's heads off though. Like some people don't want their heads in it. And so then that's a better way of going about it.
Okay, maybe I'll do that in secret next time. But what I want to know, what I want to ask you is what's some of the feedback that you've received that you didn't expect from women that have done the program for 21 days or 3 weeks?
So I originally made the plan to help women with weight loss and gut health. I knew deep down that, the reason that women, weight loss, they both go hand in hand, but let's just sort of discuss the kind of gut side of things. I really help women heal their guts through the first step is cutting out gluten, sugar, and quite a lot of dairy, because I really found in all of my research and all the women that I worked with that they were the two most common foods that caused inflammation in people's bodies. So when I kind of removed those foods from women's diets, I was expecting a lot of people to get amazing results with their gut health, right? So I knew that because of all the hundreds of women that I worked with. But then now that sort of thousands are going through the 3-Week Body Reset, it's just blowing my mind every day that any other health condition that is exacerbated by inflammation is getting better with women. So a woman messaged me yesterday with a before and after saying that she's got fibromyalgia and can hardly move because she's in so much pain all the time. And she said through following the 3-Week Body Reset, her pain has gotten so much better, and she's lost, I think, 3 or 5 kilos in 3 weeks without hardly doing any movement. And that just gives me goosebumps just saying that. I like cry most days of my life because it's so beautiful. And then there's just all these women with perimenopause and menopause that are getting such amazing weight loss results as well. Because when you sort of hit that time, you're more susceptible to insulin resistance. And so what that means is that you just can't metabolize carbs as well. And because my approach is a lower carb plan, it's not keto, it always scares people, but it does reduce a lot of the carbs compared to a Western diet. That can be the answer for people that have, perimenopause or menopause, and then, they're trying it all, they finally see success. And then there's, people that don't get migraines anymore. Just so much more confidence, so much more happiness. So many people say that their skin clears up. So, things like psoriasis or acne, there's so many different skin conditions that are inflamed when your body is inflamed. And so people's skin are getting better. And thyroid issues. So people with, so many people with Hashimoto's are now doing the program. And
oh, really?
Just, wow. Yeah, there's this one woman that was on the podcast. What episode was it? It's Anna, and it was only about 10 episodes back. And just the most beautiful, beautiful story. So her Hashimoto's is now in remission through being on medication, but also doing all of my diet changes. Bravo. And she's just singing my praises every single day. She's like, this is my new lifestyle. So her doctor told her that she had to go gluten, dairy, and sugar-free if she really wanted to get her thyroid under control. Mm-hmm. And she said to me, and she talked all about this on the podcast, but she said, Bec, I was in tears for days because she comes from a European background, and, pasta and cheese are the biggest foods in culture and life. So she was like, oh my God, my life's going to change. And then she stumbled across me somehow. She said that someone mentioned to me in a Facebook group that she was in. And she said that's just the day that her life changed, because she could see that she could actually be gluten and dairy free, but still eat incredible food. So I still give alternatives for pasta, alternatives for cheese. Like, people are eating like cakes and puddings and pizza. Like, I honestly have an alternative for everything. So you do actually, you do. I can't remember what it was, but I was like, I wanted something, and I was looking for it, and then I thought, what could I have? I'm just trying to think of what it was, and I jumped onto your list, and I actually found the alternative. It was something sweet, and it had like a date base. I can't think of what it is off the top of my head. I'll have to find it and put it up. But it worked a treat for me. So it was great. Okay. It tasted just as good, if not better. I'm like, yeah, this is good. I can do this. Yeah. I can do this. It's good. And so I just get surprised every day because, like I said, I think I initially started out to help women with gut health and weight loss, but it's just so beautiful to see the trickle effects of so many other health conditions that improve. And it surprises me every day too, because I've been doing this for so long and this is the way that I eat myself, but I'm sure you can see this by my approach too. Like, it's just, the more you do it, the more you realize it's just whole foods. Like, it's just, to me, I'm like, it seems so simple, but I can't believe it's just producing such drastic results. And, that's why it's so fun and great to teach too, because it's easy. It's not teaching people hard way of eating or anything sort of too complex. It's just bringing them back to basics and teaching them how to eat for life in a balanced and enjoyable way. Yeah.
You do. And the recipes are super easy. And this is, I think, one of the biggest problems, and, you know, and I'm going to talk collectively here, is that we are working a lot more. A lot of us have probably got, you know, children or families or partners, side hustles, aging parents, all those life things that get in the way. And so as a society, we're kind of driven to this convenience. You know, we'll just buy this really quickly and zap it in the microwave, or, you know, pre-prep food that we can just put in the oven and feed, because we don't want to spend that time thinking about it. However, I feel like your program is actually fault-proof in the sense where you don't really need to think about it that much. You know, a bag of salad, a few tomatoes, a bit of avocado, a nice piece of protein that will take you 15 minutes to cook. You know, if that, sometimes I've cooked fish for under 10 minutes, and within 10 minutes, 15 minutes, I've got dinner ready, literally, you know, and I'm full, I'm satisfied, I've given my body everything it needs. And now when I see, I've got a 22-year-old that sometimes will go and get Muscle Chef. And then he'll come and sit and talk to me and eat the mustard. I look at it and I'm like, oh my God, like that's like, how are you eating this? I know it's probably healthy, but it's not really that healthy. It's not like bursting with colour and joy, which being on your program, you kind of even, you know, my husband's like, oh, this is really nice. This looks really nice. This looks like it's going to do good for me. I'm just like, yeah, it does. It really, really does.
That's another thing. The husbands are always, well, the partners, boyfriends, husbands, they're just always so surprised. And that's one thing that women actually always say. If they send in reviews, they're always like, it worked for me in this way. And added bonus, you know, my partner's lost 5 kilos or you know, oh my gosh, my boyfriend finally likes cauliflower. And just, you know, because it is very important. If you're living with your partner, you want them to eat the same dinner as you. And so it's funny how the men are always surprised. I think we're so conditioned to believe that, you know, eating healthy means boring, but it just doesn't. It doesn't have to at all.
It doesn't have to. And I guess it is very convenient, very easy. And you know what? I think if you want to do something good for yourself, you have to be prepared to, you know, just do that little bit, putting that little bit of effort in making sure that you've got all your foods for the week and all the rest of it, you know, and try and steer away from that. Oh, it has to be that instantaneous of, I'm hungry, what am I going to get? I'll just pick up some of this on my way home and then, you know, and eat that. And I think your program really encourages and also talks about, you know, food prep, and you've got shopping lists of what you need to buy for the week. So you really do feel prepared and ready.
And that's the key.
You know,
that's the key. And
that's the thing that really resets your programming as well, because once you do it for 3 weeks and you go, right, this is what I need this week, and you go to the market or supermarket or wherever you get your groceries and you follow that list, it just becomes that habit. Because I do it now, even though I'm probably not as rigid as I was doing the program. I've still got I'm having that fish on Tuesday, chicken on Wednesday, and I'll go to the market at the end of each week on a Saturday or Sunday and get all my protein, you know, buy all my fresh veggies for 3 days. I do 3 days at a time, and I'm sorted, which is really, really good.
I love that, because the key is, you know, in all the women that have got success, you know, and kept the lifestyle up for a year or more, they all say the same thing. And, you know, a lot of what they say is it's so important to make sure you know what you're having for the week ahead. And, you know, I do that for women, but just for anyone listening, as long as you just plan your dinners for the week ahead, simply just having those foods at home and having your recipe in front of you, that takes all of the stress and time away of cooking dinner, right?
Yeah,
like if you know what you're cooking and the food's there, that's the hardest part. Yeah. So, you know, otherwise when you're just thinking on the fly, it can be a bit difficult to choose the right things. But it's when it's just at your home, someone's done it for you, someone's telling you what to eat, or you planned it yourself. It's so much more simple. And I'm so glad that you're excited about, you know, that you felt benefits from the program, because what I'm in the process of doing now, it's been a beast of a job.
Go on.
The business is staying the same. So the Thyroid Body Reset staying the same. The Health with Bec Tribe is step 2, but it's just getting improved. So we're in the process of building a totally customized app. So it pretty much means
exciting. That's super
exciting.
Now
how it's like the meal plan's like a PDF. So if you want to like change the shopping list or double things, you have to like, I don't know, people probably having to like print it out and I don't know.
Yeah, I'm a printer.
Now it's going to be, you do it. Yeah. Now it's going to be like in an app, so you can swap meals around, you can add things to your shopping list, you can like, it's just, everything is going to be, so the program's working well now, but it's just going to work even better.
Oh my gosh.
It'll be launched in like June. So I'm so excited about that.
I'm so excited. It's going to be more streamlined. Because
you
know what?
Obsessed with it.
I was actually thinking that because I was closing up. The day before, I was in the office on the 24th, just tidying up a few bits and pieces, and I thought, oh, okay, I've got to print off some of your stuff so I can take it with me, so at least in between Christmas I can still make sure that I'm kind of still following the program. And that's exactly what I did. I printed off. Printed off so much material, and I remember my husband was like, "What is this?" I'm like, "Don't worry, I just need the." He's like, "But you can get on your phone." I go, "But I'll never go on my phone. This is much easier because I can stick it in the kitchen and I can follow it." But that is super, super exciting. I think that's going to be a game changer for people that are going to be trying your program because, like I said, it's already easy, but it'll become even easier to do that.
Exactly.
If you could give your past self a word of advice, what would you tell her?
Without wanting to, I would say two things come to mind, but I've already talked about one of them, so I won't go into depth of that one. But that was the whole, like, I wish I just knew that it's not just about calories and that fiber is so much more important to also consider and, to not have as many of those diet kind of foods. The second thing that I wish I knew when I was younger, and this comes down to sort of, calories and dieting as well, is I just wish I would tell her to not fear fat. So as soon as I started eating more healthy fats, nuts, avocados, olive oil, sort of, increasing the amount of fats in my diet, instead of eating a low fat diet, I moved to eating a higher fat diet, but then controlled the calories in a way by removing some of the highly processed, carbohydrates and breads and things like that. So going from like a low fat diet to a higher fat diet was the best thing I've ever done for my health. And that's a key in my programs as well, because that has been the answer to stopping my cravings, stopping my hunger, stopping all of my constant thoughts about food. And it's amazing what a difference it makes when you cut down on some of the foods that really raise your blood sugars, which is your, a lot of like refined carbohydrates. I don't want to speak for all carbs because I don't want anyone to ever fear them. But, cutting down on some of those carb sources and making sure that you're prioritizing fat in every single meal. And it doesn't have to be a lot of fat, just it can be some, a tablespoon or two of olive oil on your salad instead of none, things like that. It's just a game changer and it will keep you full all afternoon. And, I believe that if you have the right amount of protein and fat with your lunch and with your dinner, you shouldn't even feel the need to snack that much or to get that 3 p.m. crash. So that not fear fat thing has been just a game changer, and I wish I knew that sooner.
Yeah. You know what? That is a big one. It is I think even now, like lots of people I've spoken to, friends and colleagues, and young women, kids, boys, they're the fear of fat, and it's actually like good fats, and there is a difference. Avocado, as you said before, nuts, olive oil, there's good, like that Mediterranean diet type of fats, fish, omegas, they're all good fats, as opposed to obviously fish and chips and and donuts and the bad fats. But good fats do actually keep you fuller for longer. I find the same as well. When I've incorporated a good bit of avocado or some nuts in my salad, I don't get as hungry as when I don't have a little bit of fat in there. And I don't have to even have a protein, actually. I've noticed even if I have half an avocado with some nuts in my salad, I'm good till 6 o'clock that night, that evening. So important. So important. So the other question or advice I want to ask you is, to any of our listeners out there, what would be your number one tip in regards to being proactive about your health?
Probably to never stop looking for answers and listening to your own body and trusting how you feel, because, no doctor is good enough. Like literally there's no doctor in the world that can see you for one session and diagnose you with whatever you're going through, in my belief. It takes, either multiple trips to that doctor, or it takes trying 10 different doctors until you get the right answers. But I think a lot of people slip up because they think that, they can just go to one session and find the answers for themselves. But it's about not just seeing doctors as well. It's about listening to your own body, trying other things, constantly researching, and just constantly, listening to how you feel and searching for answers, because everyone deserves to feel optimal and everyone can feel optimal. It's just up to the person. So it's up to you and everyone listening to take it into your own hands and go on your own quest and never give up to find your answers. Because, if I did that back in the day, I'd still be stuck and I'd still be constipated and I'd still feel like crap. But I just knew that something was wrong with me, even though so many doctors would look at me and say, you're slim, you're healthy, see ya kind of thing. I knew in my gut, and just actually, that's like in my gut, literally.
You knew, yeah.
I knew that I wasn't optimal and I wanted to feel optimal. And I'm so glad that I just never gave up. So that would be my biggest piece of advice.
That's a good piece of advice. I think that, we all kind of, if the doctor turns around and says, oh, you know what, there's nothing wrong, you're fine, just increase your fibre a little bit, you'll be right. You kind of go, oh. But deep down, I think all of us fundamentally know when there's something not right, there's something not right. And I think it does take a lot of courage to just keep looking for that answer until you get it right, until you find what you're looking for. So that's really good advice. And just before we go, Bec, what's next for you and your health journey?
On my health journey, I feel like I've got my diet and exercise down pat. That's just like second nature to me. But, our health journey is never, ever ending. And we need to remember that stress is key. Controlling your stress needs to be key. Controlling, optimizing your sleep needs to be key. So for me, I'm on a constant journey to constantly look at my life and try to keep my work-life balance that I've worked 7 years to build. At the moment, business has grown really fast, and so I'm in a bit of an overwhelmed state, but I'm trying to get on top of that very quickly by hiring more staff and getting my nervous system back to a place of more balance. So that's what I'm kind of constantly working on. And that goes hand in hand with sleep. So the more I sort of sort my own balance and nervous system out in that way, the better my sleep and stress is going to be. And in turn, the better the rest of my health will be as well.
Yeah, that's logical, and it makes a lot of sense. And I think a lot of people, entrepreneurial people that are building their business and their business is kind of really moving at a rapid pace, so kind of finding that balance is key, isn't it?
Life's too short. It's about, we don't want to, I used to believe that the hustle, 24/7 hustle, was what you needed to be successful. And now, of course I still work bloody hard, and it's still very important to keep working hard and stay dedicated, but you truly can grow a business and live a life at the same time. Okay. So it's just so much more about just, getting the right help, outsourcing, setting boundaries, and, you can still scale and grow, but your health and your vitality and your happiness is just so much more important as well.
150%. But it's been an absolute pleasure talking to you today, Bec. I loved every part of this podcast. I think you've been so generous with your time and your knowledge, and also explaining the program to us as well. And I'm looking forward to catching up with you again at some stage.
Yeah,
and we can talk.
I'd love to.
We could zoom in and talk about the nitty-gritty stuff of gut health.
You've taught me some stuff as well.
Ginger?
Even though I'm a nutritionist, I still learn so much from other people. So, no, this has been such a joy. Thank you so much for letting me share all of my knowledge with you. It's been so fun chatting. I love chatting about this stuff. I could, do it for hours. So thank you so much, Maria. It's been fun.
Yeah, thank you. Chat soon.